My name is Ethan, and I was reborn. In my last life, I lived like a joke. This life, I just want to lie flat. But my dad was afraid I'd go astray, so he insisted on forcing 3 child brides on me. What's funnier is that these 3 women had been transmigrated into the book. They thought they had gotten a script that could rewrite fate and were scheming how to fake their deaths and run away to get rid of me, the vicious male supporting character. I lit a cigar, looked at their plan, and laughed. Run, and whatever you do, don't look back. The phone rang while I was in my home's wine cellar, inspecting a newly opened jar of Daughter's Red. The aroma was rich and mellow, exactly the scent I like. The caller ID showed my special assistant, Silas. I slowly wiped my hands and swiped to answer. Speak. On the other end of the line, Silas's voice was as calm as ever, but if you listened closely, you could hear a trace of effortful restraint. Mr. Ethan, something's happened. Miss Luna, Miss Mia, and Miss Bella, the private yacht they were on, exploded on the high seas. Only some wreckage was recovered at the scene. As for the people, I'm afraid the odds are grim. I held the phone in one hand and scooped up a spoonful of liquor with the other, bringing it to my nose to sniff. The timing was just right. Got it, I replied lightly. Silence fell on the other end of the line. Silas was probably thinking that I was overwhelmed with grief and had gone stupid. 3 charming fiancés, gone just like that. The person involved, was perhaps a little too calm. It took a full 30 seconds before Silas tentatively spoke up. Mr. Ethan, the PR department has prepared statement. Public line is that you are inconsolable, need to close your doors to visitors, and take some time to recuperate. That'll do. I cut him off. Pay generous compensation. Soothe the elders of the 3 families. Don't let them bother me. Yes. And I paused, then added, order me the crab meat lion's head from you, John, in for lunch, and pair it with dompa pork, extra rice. Silas, I can imagine the expression cracking across his icy face right now. After hanging up, I downed that spoonful of Newer Hong in one gulp. The spicy, warm current slid down my throat, comforting. Here we go. Finally, he's here. Me, Ethan, the sole heir of the Johnson Group. In others' eyes, I was a golden spoon-born favored son. But only I know that I'm living inside a melodramatic novel called The Overbearing CEO's Billion-Dollar Darling. And what's more, he's a vicious male supporting character who won't even live past chapter 30. In the book, I was madly in love with that plain, unremarkable female lead. For her, I fought to the death with the destined male lead, and in the end I ended up with my company bankrupt, my reputation ruined, and dying miserably on the streets. And those 3 child brides my father carefully chose and raised by my side since childhood. Luna, Mia, Bella, none of them had a good ending either. Because they envied the female lead, they set all kinds of traps and schemes, and in the end the male lead dealt with each of them cleanly. Each met a more tragic fate than the last. In my last life, I was controlled by the plot, like a marionette, and lived out a pitiful and laughable existence. On the brink of death, I finally woke up. To hell with the male and female leads, to hell with the plot. When I opened my eyes again, I was 22. The plot had only just begun. What surprised me even more was that I discovered my 3 fiancées also seemed to have extraordinary secrets. They were book crossers. 3 women from the real world had been transported into this book and become my sacrificial fiancées. They knew the entire plot. They knew my ending, and they knew their own endings as well. So, from the very first day I was reborn, I watched them perform quietly through the home surveillance. I watched how they pretended to be deeply devoted to me in front of me, while secretly gathering to scheme about how to get rid of me, the great villain. Their plan was simple and brutal. That was fake their deaths, stage an accident, so the 3 of them would disappear from this world, then take on new identities and start their lives of comeback. To that end, they carefully planned this yacht explosion incident, and I was the poor thing kept in the dark, about to lose the one I loved. I put down the wine ladle and walked out of the cellar. The sunlight was perfect, pouring into the courtyard, warm and gentle. I lay in the rocking chair in the yard and closed my eyes. The chattering of those three women was gone from my ears. The world was finally peaceful. In this life, I don't want to fight or compete anymore. I just want to lie flat and quietly be my family's useless rich person. Work out, cook delicious food, brew some wine, and enjoy life. As for the company, with Silas, that overachiever, around, it won't fail. Mr. Ethan. Silas's voice came from not far away. I couldn't be bothered to lift my eyelids. Is the food here? It's here. Silas's voice sounded somewhat hard to describe, but the old man is here too. I sighed. Trouble has arrived. My father, William, is a legendary figure. He built the Johnson Group business empire from nothing. But his biggest worry in life has always been me, his son. They were worried I was too handsome, too rich, and would be tricked by some flashy floozy outside. So he invented the feudal nonsense of child brides, carefully selecting 3 girls from families of similar standing and keeping them at home, prettily calling it cultivating affection early. In the end, no affection was cultivated. He raised 3 female transmigrators who were all itching to run away. I opened my eyes and saw my father rushing over like a gust of wind, followed by a troubled-looking Silas and several servants carrying food boxes. Ethan. William looked stricken, opening his arms to embrace me. I disdainfully rolled aside to avoid him. Dad, I'm fine. William lunged forward and missed, stumbled, and after steadying himself, he looked at me with heartbreaking anguish. How could she be okay? Luna and the others sigh. Your dad knows you're upset. If you want to cry, then cry. Don't bottle it up. I pointed at the food box on the stone table. Not sad. I'm hungry. Eat. William followed my finger and looked over. His face went stiff. Inside the food box, the crab roll lion's head meatballs were golden and glossy. The dompa pork was succulent and inviting, and there were 4 bowls of white rice. William fell silent. He was probably thinking, what sane person would order such a spread of heavy dishes and 4 bowls of rice, while 3 fiancés' bodies were still warm? You, he pointed at me, his finger trembling. You unfilial son. Luna and the others treated you so well. How could you? Dad. I picked up a lion's head meat bun, took a big bite, and slurred, the dead can't come back to life. The living still have to eat, right? William turned green with anger. You're simply heartless. I couldn't be bothered with him and focused on my meal. To be honest, after being reborn, aside from wanting to lie flat, my biggest wish is to eat my way across the country. In my last life, I was so busy sulking with a male lead that I didn't properly enjoy many meals. What a loss. William watched me stuffing food into my mouth, grease all over, looking carefree. He was so furious he couldn't speak, just pointed at me and stammered you for ages, then finally threw out, I'm done with you, and stormed off. The world fell quiet again. Silas stood to one side, hesitating to speak. Say whatever you want. I didn't look up. Mr. Ethan. Silas pushed up his gold-rimmed glasses, a shrewd light flashing in the eyes behind the lenses. I've already taken care of the lady's aftermath. Per your instructions, the compensation was paid at 3 times the market rate. And as for the 3 families companies, we will give the greatest concessions possible in our future cooperation. I replied. Money, you don't bring it into life, you don't take it out of death. If peace can be bought, that's the best deal. Also, Silas continued his report, the topic about your lovesick domineering CEO losing his beloved has already hit #1 on trending. The fake accounts and marketing pages we bought are guiding public opinion as planned. Right now, netizens of you is very positive. Many are expressing sympathy. I nearly spat out my food. What is this? Silas handed over the tablet without changing his expression. I swiped it open and saw on the trending list, after a bright red breaking character, a large line of text. Ethan didn't get out of bed today either. I tapped it, and the top post was the official statement released by Johnson Group's Weibo. Shocked by the terrible news, deeply saddened, Mr. Ethan, overcome with grief, has been bedridden. Company affairs are temporarily being handled entirely by assistant Mr. Silas. We ask all partners and media friends to give Mr. Ethan is private space and not disturb him. An image was attached below. It's a photo of me lying in a rocking chair with my eyes closed. I don't know which despicable person took it secretly. They even photoshopped away the shine at the corner of my mouth and added a black and white filter, giving it a rather life is meaningless sense of decadence. The comments section has already exploded. Well, my Ethan, this is so tragic. 3 fiancés. Gone just like that. Even novels wouldn't dare write this. Ethan, hang in there. In the photo, Ethan's jaw looks so thin and sharp. He must have gone days without eating. It breaks my heart. Hey, upstairs. Is there any chance he's just simply handsome? Am I the only one who thinks Johnson Group's stock price seems to have hit the daily limit? Me, I pointed to the last comment and asked Silas, "What's going on here?" Silas calmly explained, "The market probably believes that you are confined to bed and no longer intervening in company affairs, which is seen as a major positive for the company's future development." Me, well, I'll be damned. I lie down and the company actually gets better. This world is getting more and more interesting. The days that followed were unimaginably pleasant. I slept until I woke naturally each day, worked out, and ate delicious food. I turned one of the hills I owned into a private farm, planting all kinds of vegetables and fruits, and raising chickens, ducks, cows, and sheep. I also built a huge wine cellar and began experimenting with brewing my own baijiu, huangjiu, and rice wine. I found that I have an unusually strong interest in these traditional things. Maybe because I was exhausted from scheming in my previous life. In this one, I just want to live at a slower pace, a life with everyday warmth. As for Silas, he fully brought out his inner workaholic. I handed everything over to him, only occasionally listening to reports and keeping an eye on the overall direction. He not only didn't collapse, instead, like he'd been injected with adrenaline, he led Johnson Group onward in full throttle. In just 1 month, they landed several major projects, leaving the rivals who were waiting to watch Johnson Group fail utterly astonished. My personal reputation also reached an unprecedented height because of the running joke that Ethan didn't get out of bed today. There even appeared a group of career fans of mine online. They check in every day under the official Weibo. Has Mr. Ethan gotten up today? No. Wonderful. Brothers, buy more. As long as Mr. Ethan lies flat, the stock price can reach hundreds of billions. Please, let Mr. Ethan lie in bed for his whole life. I'll crowdfund the most comfortable bed in the world for him. Looking at these silly comments, I couldn't help but laugh and cry. That day I was fishing by the pond on the farm when Silas came again. He had now grown used to my flaky, dragon sin only when it wants to be lifestyle. Every time he came to report, he had to search around my estate for half a day first. "Mr. Ethan," he handed over a document. "We've taken the land south of the city." Oh. I didn't even lift my eyelids, my full attention fixed on the fishing float. That parcel of land was the first major project through which the novel's male lead made his fortune. In my previous life, in order to oppose the male lead, I spent a huge sum to snatch it up, only to find it was a wreck and lost everything. This life, I hadn't planned to touch it. It was Silas who prepared an analysis report over 100 pages long, arguing the land's enormous potential from every angle. Timing, location, and people. He convinced me. I replied to him at the time with 2 words, "Go ahead." I didn't expect that he actually pulled it off. Not bad. I praised casually. Silas's eyes behind his lenses brightened for a moment, like a loyal dog who had received the highest reward. "Mr. Ethan, there's one more thing." He hesitated before speaking. "Miss Luna and the others, there's news." My hand holding the fishing rod paused slightly. The float twitched. It took the bait. I gave a hard pull, and a lively grass carp was flung up by me. "Tell me, they 3 all went to High Gang City." Silas's tone was somewhat complicated. "Miss Luna took the alias Luna and set up an investment company. She's been very active on the market recently. Miss Mia changed her name to Mia and became a food blogger with quite a few followers. Miss Bella used the name Bella to sign with a new agency, preparing to make a comeback." I tossed the fish into the bucket and wiped my hands. Everything was as expected. These 3 women are not to be underestimated. Luna was a finance elite before transmigrating into the book, ambitious and driven. Mia looks innocent and harmless, but in fact she's the one who best uses her looks to manipulate people's hearts. Bella was already a second-tier celebrity, proud and haughty. How could she ever be content with being ordinary? They thought that by escaping from me and moving somewhere else, they could start living the life of protagonists in wish-fulfillment novels. How naive. They had no idea what exactly they were running away from. "Mr. Ethan, would you like me to do anything?" Silas asked. His gaze was somewhat cold. Obviously, he had no good feelings toward those 3 women who had deceived my husband emotionally and left him confined to bed. "No need." I tossed the fishing rod aside, leaned back in a lounger, and said lazily, "Let them play." I just wanted to see how their grand performance of defying fate would continue without me, the vicious supporting male, serving as their stepping stone. "By the way," I said as if I had remembered something, "help me look up a shop." "What kind of shop?" "A private tea house that makes Chinese-style dim sum, called Savory Pavilion." That was one I had come across a few days ago by accident. One of his lotus pastries was made exceptionally well, sweet but not cloying, melting in the mouth. It reminded me of the taste my mother used to make for me a very long time ago when she was still alive. Silas's efficiency was terrifyingly high. In the afternoon, all the information about this savory pavilion was laid out in front of me. The owner of the tea house is named Sophia Taylor, a very elegant name. The photo in the profile shows a young girl in a plain cheapao, her brows and eyes curved, her temperament gentle, bowing her head as she focuses on brewing tea. Sunlight filters through the window lattice, casting a soft halo over her. She looks like an ink painting that breathes. She was beautiful in a way that felt very comforting. Completely different from Luna's aggressive, icy beauty, Mia's deliberately cultivated innocent beauty, or Bella's flamboyant, domineering glamour. Sophia Taylor's family background was simple, a scholarly household, an only daughter, both parents university professors. As for herself, she was the last disciple of a national-level pastry master, and at a young age had already gained some fame within the circle. This savory pavilion was founded by her single-handedly, not to make money, but to have a place where she could quietly do the things she loved. She's a very interesting girl. I closed the file and said to Silas, "Set up a meeting with her for me tomorrow. Tell her I want to discuss a collaboration." Silas paused. "A collaboration? What kind of collaboration? My farm produces a lot of high-quality ingredients, doesn't it?" I said as a matter of course. Leaving them unused is a waste. Better to find a reliable channel and develop them into high-end products. "Silas, so you want her to use your ingredients to make pastries and then sell them externally?" "Smart." I snapped my fingers. Silas's expression grew even more indescribable. He probably thought I was using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. With so many food companies under Johnson Group, you could pick any one of them and they'd handle this matter perfectly. Why go looking for an obscure private tea house? But I couldn't be bothered to explain. I just feel that this girl named Sophia Taylor puts soul into what she makes. That's all. The next day, I changed into casual clothes, drove a low-key phaeton, and went to this savory pavilion. The tea house sat in a very quiet alley, with a few stalks of green bamboo planted at the entrance, giving it an antique charm. I pushed the door open and was greeted by a light waft of tea and floral fragrance. Sophia was sitting behind the counter, reading a book. Hearing the noise, she looked up. When she saw me, a flicker of surprise crossed her eyes, but it quickly settled back to calm. "Good evening, sir." She stood up and gave me a slight smile. "Do you have an appointment?" Her voice was pleasant, like a clear spring in the mountains. "I'm here to see Miss Sophia Taylor," I said. "My name is Ethan. Silas should have been in touch with you." Sophia's eyes lit up with understanding. "So, it's Mr. Ethan. Please have a seat." She led me to a window seat and poured me a cup of tea. "Mr. Ethan, please try it. This is this year's new tea." I lifted the cup and took a sip. The tea was clear, with a strong aroma of beans and a pronounced sweet aftertaste. "It's good tea. Miss Sophia, I got straight to the point. The reason I'm here today, Silas should have already told you. I admire your craft and would like to enter into a deep collaboration with you. Sophia listened quietly, saying nothing. When I finished, she slowly spoke. Mr. Ethan, thank you for your appreciation. However, I'm sorry. I will probably have to refuse you. I raised an eyebrow, somewhat surprised. With the Johnson Group name, people wanting to collaborate with us could be lined up all the way to France. She actually turned it down? Why? Because I don't have that kind of energy. Sophia smiled, a little embarrassed. This shop and the tasks I have on my hands already take up all my time. I don't want to turn it into a purely commercial venture. That would make it meaningless. Her reason for refusing was about what I expected. This is someone who truly loves her work and sticks to her principles. I admired her all the more. I understand. I nodded, not insisting. But if we can't cooperate, we can still be friends, right? I took a black card out of my pocket and handed it to her. This is a pass to my private farm. Anonymous, unlimited use. You can use any of the ingredients inside freely. Consider it a small token of appreciation from me as a diner. Sophia froze. She stared at the jet black card with a gold J embossed in the corner and didn't react for a long moment. This is too valuable. Not valuable. I smiled. To me, being able to eat the pastries Miss Sophia makes with her own hands anytime is the most precious thing. My words were blunt, even a little flippant, but there wasn't the slightest hint of offense on Sophia's face. Her cheeks flushed slightly, as if brushed with a thin layer of rouge. She lowered her head and murmured, Thank you, Mr. Ethan. You're welcome. At that moment, the tea house door was suddenly flung open. A man dressed flamboyantly and wearing sunglasses, accompanied by several bodyguards, swaggered in. Where's the boss? Come out. I'm taking over this place today. I turned my head to look. Oh, a familiar face. Derek Zhang, a nouveau riche who made his fortune from his family's demolition compensation, and also an unremarkable minor antagonist in the book. His main role is to act as a brainless stumbling block on the way to the protagonist's growing romance, then be harshly humiliated by the male lead to highlight the male lead's strength and protectiveness toward the female lead. In the previous life, it seems he also harassed a girl running a shop at a similar occasion, and ended up being taught a lesson by the passing male lead. Only, that girl was not Sophia. It seems my reborn butterfly has already started flapping its wings, changing some small details. Sophia was clearly frightened by the scene. She frowned, stepped forward, and said politely, Sir, sorry, the shop already has guests today, and we don't accept private bookings. Derek Zhang took off his sunglasses, his small eyes leering as he sized Sophia up. Well, boss is quite a beauty. He smiled lecherously. Why be afraid of a customer? Just tell him to get lost, right? As he spoke, he jerked his chin in my direction. Kid, you hear me? You have 1 minute. Get out of here, or don't blame me for being rude. I leaned back in the chair, not moving, lifted the teacup, and took another sip. I don't have the slightest interest in saying another word to an idiot like that. Sophia's expression darkened. Sir, please show some respect. He's my guest. I won't chase him away. If you want tea, please wait your turn. If you want to make a scene, please leave. Hey, you little woman, you've got some nerve. Derek Zhang, his pride wounded, was half angry, half humiliated. You think I'm giving you face? Do you know who I am? Believe it or not, I'll make sure this lousy shop can't stay open tomorrow. I believe you. A calm voice came from my side. Everyone's gazes turned to me. I set down my teacup, rose leisurely, and walked over to stand in front of Derek Zhang. I was half a head taller than him, looking down on him from above like that. I still believe it. Your Hung Fa real estate could disappear from this world as soon as tomorrow. My voice was quiet, but Derek Zhang's expression changed in an instant. He stared at me intently, cold sweat beginning to bead on his forehead. Why, who are you? Who I am isn't important. I tugged at the corner of my mouth, showing a smile that held little warmth. What matters is that I know who you are. I leaned close to his ear and, in a voice only the two of us could hear, spoke an address. That was the address of the most treasured mistress he kept on the side. Derek Zhang's body stiffened suddenly. The color drained completely from his face in an instant. How did you know? I also know that last month you used the company's name to lose 30 million US dollars in Haijing City. I continued, if your father finds out about this. Stop it. Derek Zhang's voice was trembling. The way he looked at me was full of fear. He finally realized what kind of iron plate he'd kicked today. I was wrong. Big brother. I didn't know it was you. I failed to recognize a great man. You are magnanimous. Just treat me like a fart and let me go. He made a plop sound and knelt down immediately. The bodyguards behind him looked at each other and also dropped to their knees. This dramatic scene left Sophia dumbfounded. I didn't look at Derek Zhang again. I turned to Silas and said, deal with him. I don't want to see him in the capital again. Yes, sir. Silas, like an emotionless robot, stepped forward, grabbed Derek Zhang by the collar, and as if lifting a chick, dragged him out. The tea house instantly fell silent. Sophia looked at me, her expression complicated. There was shock, curiosity, and a hint of admiration. Mr. Ethan, a small favor. I sat back down, smiled at her, and said, did I startle you? Sophia shook her head, then, as if having made up her mind, walked up to me and gave a deep bow. Mr. Ethan, thank you for today. You're welcome. No, I must thank you. She looked up, eyes sparkling as she stared at me. To show my gratitude, from now on I'll pay for everything you buy in the shop. And if you don't mind, I can also take care of your meals from now on. I was stunned. Responsible for my 3 meals? Is this the ancient offering oneself in a modern version? This girl is even more interesting than I imagined. I looked at her flushed earlobes and those crystal clear eyes, and my heart suddenly stirred. Fine. I agreed with a smile. From that day on, Sophia really did start taking care of my 3 meals a day. Every morning, she had someone deliver a carefully prepared breakfast to my estate, and at noon and night, she would come herself to my kitchen to prepare lunch and dinner for me. My estate had a full range of ingredients of the highest quality. For her, it was simply paradise. She made delicious food for me every day, each time in a different style. From delicate Jiangnan small dishes to hearty northeastern fare, across the 8 major cuisines, she was nearly an expert at all of them. My stomach was completely conquered by her, and our relationship, through sharing those 3 meals a day, rapidly warmed and deepened. I found that she was not only skilled with her hands, but also very amusing. She looked gentle and quiet, like a classical lady, but at her core, she harbored a little bit of mischief and scheming. For example, she knew I liked working out and had a set daily exercise time. Once, I had just finished a set of bench presses, sweating all over as I came out of the gym, and saw her waiting at the door, holding a bowl of chilled mung bean paste. Thank you for your hard work, Mr. Ethan. She smiled and handed me the bowl. Drink up and cool down. I took it and drank more than half in one go. The icy, sweet mung bean soup slid down my throat, instantly driving away all the heat. Delicious, as long as it tastes good. She looked at me, her eyes sparkling, then reached out a finger and, cautiously, poked my abdominal muscle. Wow, so hard. She murmured in astonishment, like a child discovering a new continent. My body went stiff. A rush of heat surged up from my lower abdomen. I grabbed her mischief-making hand, my voice a little hoarse. Don't move. Her face flushed in an instant, like a startled little rabbit, and she hurriedly pulled her hand back. I didn't mean to. Looking at her sweet yet enticing expression, I couldn't help myself and bent down to kiss her. Her lips were exactly as I had imagined, soft, sweet, with the fresh scent of mung bean paste. At first, she was very awkward, her body stiff, but soon, under my guidance, she gradually relaxed and began to respond clumsily. When the kiss ended, she had already melted into my arms, breathless, moisture glinting at the corners of her eyes. Mr. Ethan, you call me Ethan. I cupped her face, pressing my forehead to hers, and said softly. She blinked, her long lashes like butterfly wings, brushed across my face, tickling. Ethan, Then, don't call me Miss Sophia anymore. She whispered, call me Sophia. All right, Sophia. I held her, my heart melting. The feeling was unfamiliar and strangely new. In my past life, I was surrounded by all kinds of women, but not a single one made my heart race like this or made me want to fuse her into my very bones. Perhaps this is what true love really is. Just as we were steeped in affection, my phone rang an inconvenient moment. It was Silas. Sir, there's some news you might be interested in. Tell me. Miss Luna's company has hit a bit of trouble recently. Silas's tone carried a hint of schadenfreude. A project she had her eye on was snatched up by another firm. Apparently, the person in charge of that project is the newly risen business prodigy of Harbor City. Very ruthless. Oh, I raised an eyebrow. What's that prodigy's name? His surname is King. King. The smile at the corner of my mouth deepened. Lucas, the protagonist of this book, the destined son. It seems the inertia of the plot is still very strong. Even without me, this villainous supporting male, as the catalyst, the male and female leads still met in another way. And right from the start, he ran into my former fiancée. Interesting. This is getting more and more interesting. Sophia is a mama's girl. On the third day after we made our relationship official, she told me with a serious face that she was going to take me home to meet her parents. So soon, I asked, a little surprised. Of course, she said matter-of-factly. My mom always says dating without the intention to marry is just playing around. I have to let her vet you first. I looked at her adorable expression of my mom is always right and couldn't help but laugh. All right, I'll do as you say. On the day of meeting the parents, I specially had Silas prepare the finest tea leaves and antique calligraphy and paintings as a gift. Sophia lived in a very tasteful professor's apartment, the whole place filled with the scent of books. Her parents, just as I imagined, were the kind of genteel, elegant intellectuals. Benjamin Taylor was a history professor, and Eleanor Taylor was a Chinese literature professor. When they looked at me, there was a hint of appraisal in their eyes, but no sign of displeasure. At the dining table, Benjamin Taylor talked to me about history, while Eleanor Taylor discussed literature with me. In my previous life, I studied those subjects fairly thoroughly to keep up appearances. As we talked, it turned out I was enjoying a very pleasant conversation with both of the senior professors. By the end of the meal, the way they looked at me had changed from scrutinizing to admiring. Ethan, Benjamin Taylor patted my shoulder and said earnestly, our Sophia has been spoiled since she was little and isn't very scheming. From now on, you must be patient and take good care of her. Dad! Sophia stamped her foot in protest. What are you saying? Uncle, Andy, don't worry. I held Sophia's hand and promised solemnly, I will treat her well. After leaving the Taylor's house, Sophia was cheerful all the way. My parents absolutely adore you, she said, holding my arm like a happy little bird. They've never praised anyone like this before. Really? I said, smiling as I pinched her nose. Should I feel honored then? Of course, she said, sticking her chin up proudly. Seeing her so happy, my mood lifted as well. A girl raised in a loving, complete family and spoiled by her parents is simply different. She's like a little sun, warm, bright, able to drive away all gloom. Being with her, I feel my heart, which had grown somewhat weary for being reborn, become young again. On the other side, Harbor City. Luna's days were no longer so easy. She used the alias Luna, and, relying on the financial knowledge she had before transmigrating and her understanding of the plot, quickly made a name for herself in Harbor City's business world. She thought she had the lead heroine script and could breeze through everything, climbing to the pinnacle of life. But she forgot that in this world there was another bug-level existence, the male lead, Lucas. Lucas, a business prodigy who climbed up from the bottom, ruthless and exceptionally intelligent. In the book, he built his commercial empire step by step through one precise investment after another. The project Luna was interested in happened to be Lucas's target as well. Both of them knew the enormous potential of that project. Thus, a war without smoke began. Luna had the advantage of foresight, but Lucas had the protagonist's aura. After several rounds of clashes, not only did Luna gain no advantage, she was outmaneuvered by Lucas and lost a significant amount of money. This made her both angry and upset, and also helpless. She didn't understand why the plot seemed a little different from what she remembered. In the book, Lucas, though also very powerful, wasn't this dominant in the early stages. He only started to snowball after he met the female lead. But now, the heroine hasn't even appeared, and he's already disturbingly powerful. That evening, Luna attended a business cocktail party. She wanted to use the opportunity to meet more people and turn things around for herself. As soon as she entered the venue, she saw someone she hadn't expected. Ethan. He was standing not far away, talking with a woman in a plain cheongsam. He was wearing a well-tailored casual suit, no tie, the top 2 buttons undone at the collar, looking languid and sexy. On his face was a gentle smile she had never seen before. He looked at that woman with a gaze that was focused and full of affection, as if the whole world consisted of only the two of them. A sharp stab pierced Luna's heart. Who was that woman? Why was Ethan here? Shouldn't he be in Jingshi, devastated over the deaths of the 3 of them? Why does he look like he's living even better than before? Moreover, the aura about him has completely changed. The previous Ethan, although handsome, always carried the arrogance and fierce temper of a rich playboy. But now he was calm and restrained. Every movement of his exuded a lethal charm, like a peerless blade sheathed and hidden, seemingly harmless, yet its edge lies coiled within. Just as Luna was lost in thought, Ethan seemed to sense her gaze and looked over in her direction. Their eyes met. His gaze was flat and calm, as if looking at a stranger. Then he withdrew his eyes, lowered his head, and whispered something affectionately into the cheongsam-clad woman's ear. The woman's cheeks flushed slightly. She playfully pushed him. The sweet atmosphere between the two of them was almost spilling over. Luna tightened her grip on the wine glass without realizing it. Her knuckles, from the pressure, had turned slightly white. She didn't understand why her chest felt so constricted. She was the one who had clearly chosen to give him up. Clearly, she should be grateful for having escaped the fate of a cannon fodder. So why, when she saw him being so good to other women, did she feel it was so glaring, so unwilling? The host of the banquet was the long-established wealthy family of Harbor City, the Lee family. Sophia and I had been invited by Old Master Lee to attend his birthday celebration. Old Master Lee was an old friend of my grandfather. When I was little, he often carried me. This time I came to Seaport City, so I dropped by to pay my respects. I didn't expect to run into Luna here. She looked sharper and more capable than before, wearing a high-end bespoke business suit that made her seem like an aloof queen. But those beautiful eyes hid a trace of fatigue and anxiety that couldn't be concealed. It seemed that being taught a lesson by the male lead wasn't a pleasant experience. She was very shocked when she saw me. That look was like she'd seen a ghost. I gave her only a sidelong glance before turning my eyes away. To me, she was no different now than any passerby. What's wrong? Sophia noticed my oddness and asked quietly. Nothing, just saw an old acquaintance. I smiled, leaned close to her ear and said, but no matter how beautiful an old acquaintance is, she's not as pretty as my Sophia. Sophia's face flushed again. She murmured softly, smooth-talking, but the upturned corners of her mouth betrayed her true feelings. Not far away, Luna took in the whole scene. Her complexion grew several shades paler. At that moment, a man in a black suit with a commanding presence walked toward her holding a wine glass. Miss Luna, drinking alone and drowning your sorrows here? The man's voice was low and husky, with a hint of amusement. Luna turned around, and when she saw the newcomer, her pupils slightly contracted. Lucas, her nemesis in this life. Mr. Lucas, do you need something? She said coldly, her tone unkind. It's nothing. Lucas chuckled lightly, but his gaze passed her and landed on me. I just saw an interesting person and came over to check. Luna followed his line of sight and felt a chill in her heart. You know him? No. Lucas shook his head, the smile at the corner of his mouth deepening. But I'm very interested in him. There aren't many people who can interest Lucas. A bad premonition suddenly rose in Luna's heart. The birthday banquet began, and Old Master Lee went on stage to give a speech. When his speech ended, he smiled at those below and said, "Today, besides this old man's birthday, there's another piece of great news I want to share with everyone." He beckoned to me. "Ethan, bring your fiancée up so Grandpa can see her." Fiancée? The whole room erupted. Everyone's gaze turned in unison to me. I held Sophia's hand and, under everyone's watchful eyes, walked onto the stage. Sophia was a little nervous. Her palms were sweating. I gently squeezed her hand to reassure her and smiled at her. "Don't be afraid. I'm here." Old Master Lee held Sophia's hand, grinning from ear to ear. Good, good. What fine child. Our Ethan has finally come to his senses." He picked up the microphone and announced to everyone, "Ladies and gentlemen, let me officially introduce. This is my granddaughter-in-law, Sophia Taylor. She will also be the future lady of the Johnson family." Her words finished. The hall erupted in thunderous applause. I picked up the other microphone, looked at the guests below, and my gaze finally fell on Luna, whose face had gone deathly pale. "Thank you all for your blessings," I said with a smile. "Sophia and I are getting engaged next month. You're all welcome to come to Jing City then and share a toast with us." After speaking, I lowered my head and, under everyone's watchful eyes, gently kissed Sophia on the forehead. Flashbulbs flashed, turning everything bright. Sophia's face was as red as a ripe apple. In the audience, Luna's hand holding the wine glass trembled violently. The red wine spilled all over her, leaving her in a sorry state. She stared fixedly at us on the stage, her eyes full of disbelief and regret. Ethan's fiancée? The future mistress of the Johnson family? How is that possible? Wasn't he supposed to be unable to forget his 3 deceased fiancées and remain unmarried for life? Why did he get a new fiancée so quickly? And it's Sophia, that woman who runs the tea house. What on earth is so special about her? Her family is ordinary, her looks merely delicate. What right does she have to win Ethan's favor? What right does she have to become the Johnson family's lady? Luna couldn't understand. She felt as if an invisible hand had seized her heart and ripped it hard. The pain made it almost impossible for her to breathe. She had always believed she was the one in control of everything. She thought she had successfully gotten rid of Ethan and escaped the fate of being cannon fodder. But only at this moment did she realize how ridiculously wrong she had been. What she had given up was not some vicious supporting male at all, but rather a golden patron she could never hope to rely on again in this life. After the birthday banquet, Luna returned home in a daze. She locked herself in her room and drank herself senseless. In her mind, the image of Ethan and Sophia standing together at the party replayed over and over. A handsome man and a beautiful woman, a match made in heaven. That kind of Ethan was one she had never seen. Gentle, affectionate, the love in his eyes almost overflowing. And that gentleness, that depth of feeling should have belonged to her. If she hadn't chosen to leave, would the person standing by his side now, receiving everyone's blessings and envy, be her? The thought, like a poisonous sting, drove deep into her heart. She refused to accept it. Why? Why can Sophia? How is she any worse than that woman? In terms of family background, ability, appearance, what does she lose in any of those? Just because she was one step late in transmigrating, just because she was bound by the identity of a cannon fodder supporting female, did she deserve to have everything snatched away by an ordinary woman? The more Luna thought about it, the angrier she became. The more she thought, the more hatred grew. She grabbed her phone and called Mia. The call was connected quickly. "Hey, Luna, it's so late. What do you need?" Mia's voice, as always, was sweet. "Mia, I'm asking you, do you regret it?" Luna got straight to the point. Her voice was a little hoarse from drinking. Mia, on the other end of the line, was silent. After a long moment, she let out a light laugh. Regret? Why would I regret it? I'm living very well now. Being a food vlogger, eating and drinking every day, filming videos, and getting tons of tips from fans. Isn't that much better than living under someone's thumb? Really, Luna is native. Did you know Ethan is getting engaged? Of course. Mia's tone remained casual. It was all over the news today. That girl, Sophia, is pretty, seems gentle too. She suits Ethan. Luna hadn't expected that reaction. You're not jealous at all? Not at all resentful. What is there to be resentful about? Mia retorted. We chose our own paths. Besides, do you really think that even if we hadn't left, Ethan would have married us? Don't be foolish, Luna. We're cannon fodder, supporting characters. Our endings were decided long ago. Being able to keep our lives is already a blessing. I don't believe it. Luna shouted excitedly. I don't believe in that damned fate. I only believe that man can conquer nature. Mia, are you really willing to just watch some woman who is inferior to us take away everything that should belong to us? So, what do you want to do? Mia's tone finally changed a little. Go back to him? Beg for his forgiveness? Don't forget, we're dead now. The dead can come back to life too. A hint of madness flashed in Luna's eyes. As long as we want it, there's always a way. There was another silence on the other end of the phone. After a long while, Mia finally sighed softly. Luna, you've had too much to drink. Go to bed early. Having said that, she hung up the phone. Listening to the busy signal, Luna angrily smashed the phone onto the ground. Trash. All trash. She knew Mia wasn't unwilling. She was simply better at keeping her cool, better at pretending. And then there was Bella. That proud, arrogant woman is probably by now, as furious as she is, nearly driven mad. Luna took a deep breath, forcing herself to calm down. She couldn't just give up like that. Absolutely not. She would take back everything that belonged to her. Ethan could only be hers. No one was allowed to take him away. The next day, Luna went to the company with a pair of bloodshot eyes. The first thing she did was instruct her assistant to go through all of Sophia's records. She refused to believe there was anyone in this world who was flawless. Anyone who is human must have weaknesses. She was determined to find Sophia's weak points and drive her away from Ethan. However, the information the assistant retrieved left her disappointed. Sophia's resume was as clean as a blank sheet of paper. Good family background, trained in a reputable school, no dirt to be found. The only stain was probably she had once anonymously funded an orphanage in a poor mountain area. What kind of weakness is this? This is practically a saintly halo. Luna angrily threw the file onto the desk. Trash. You can't even handle something this simple. What do you think I'm supporting you for? The assistant trembled with fear, unable to speak. At that moment, Luna's phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. She answered impatiently. Who is it? Miss Luna. Such a temper. From the other end of the line came a man's amused voice. It was Lucas. What are you calling for? Luna asked irritably. To watch me make a fool of myself? Of course not. Lucas chuckled lightly. I'm here to give you a big gift. A big gift. A gift that can turn the tide in your favor. Lucas's tone was full of temptation. I know you've set your sights on that new energy project in the west of the city. Funny enough, I've got my eye on it too. How about we cooperate? Luna was stunned. Cooperate? Lucas wants to cooperate with her? Did she hear that right? This person had left her in such a mess just a few days ago, and now he actually wants to cooperate with her? What are you plotting? She asked warily. I told you I'm very interested in him, Lucas answered evasively. And you're the only one who can get close to him. Luna understood instantly. Lucas's target was Ethan. He wanted to use her to deal with Ethan. Why should I help you? Because we have a common enemy. Lucas's voice was like a devil's whisper. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, isn't it? Miss Luna, think about it. This deal is a sure win for you. After saying that, he hung up. Luna held her phone and fell into thought. She knew that partnering with Lucas was like bargaining with a tiger. This man was too dangerous. But he wasn't wrong. This is her only chance. One to return to Ethan's side, to defeat Sophia. After a long moment, a trace of resolve flashed in her eyes. Fortune favors the bold. To win Ethan back, she was willing to take a gamble. Sophia and I set our engagement banquet for the middle of next month. The venue would be my private estate. I left everything to Silas to handle and enjoyed the leisure myself, spending my days with Sophia, strolling around the estate and feeding the fish. Life was delightfully pleasant. Sophia was full of curiosity about my manor, especially my wine cellar. Wow, you actually have so much wine here. She looked at the jars lining the wall and exclaimed, "Did you brew all of these yourself?" "Most of them." I took down a jar from the shelf. "Want to try some? Is that okay?" Her eyes lit up. Of course. I poured her a small cup. It was a rice wine with a strong fruity aroma, low in alcohol, sweet, very suitable for girls to drink. She took a cautious sip, and her eyes instantly curved into crescents. "It's so good. If you like it, I'll give it to you every day." "That won't do." She shook her head and said solemnly, "Drinking harms the body. This is fruit wine, it's nourishing." "That won't do," she said stubbornly. "Anyway, from now on, you can't drink without my permission." "That bossy," I teased, pinching her cheek. "Yes, exactly bossy." She tilted her chin, then stood on tiptoe and lightly pecked my lips. "This is a stamp." I looked at her pretty face, so close to mine, felt a stir in my heart, grabbed the back of her head, and deepened the kiss. The scent of wine mixed with the light fragrance on her, intoxicating. Just as we were kissing, unable to part, Silas's cough sounded untimely at the doorway. "Ahem, ahem. Sir." Sophia, like a frightened rabbit, shoved me away, and her face flushed so red it looked ready to bleed. I shot Silas an annoyed glance. This guy is getting more and more tactless. "What is it?" "Sir, there's some new movement over at Harbor City." Silas pushed up his glasses, his expression serious. "Lucas and Luna have teamed up." "Oh," I raised an eyebrow. "They moved fast. They joined forces and secured the new energy project in the west of the city," Silas continued. "Also, I've received word that their next target might be one of our company's chip R&D projects in the South China region. That chip project is one of Johnson Group's most important strategic initiatives for the coming years. This was also the crucial battle in the book where Lucas completely crushed me. In the previous life, it was the failure of this project that caused Johnson Group's cash flow to break, and Lucas then took advantage of the weakness to acquire and absorb it. It seems they intend to repeat the same trick. "Sir, do we need to prepare in advance?" Silas asked. "No need." I waved my hand, indifferent. "Let them come." Silas was stunned. "But sir, this project is very important to us." "I know." I cut him off. "I just want to see what tricks they can play." I took the still-shy Sophia by the hand and walked out of the wine cellar. "Come on, Sophia, I'll take you to a nice place." I led her to an observatory at the highest point of the manor. Night had fallen, and the sky was full of stars. We lay on a lounge chairs, sharing the same blanket, quietly watching the starry sky. "Ethan," Sophia spoke suddenly. Were you brooding just now?" She turned her head to look at me, a trace of worry in her eyes. "Is it because of something at the company?" I didn't expect her to be so sensitive. I smiled and pulled her into my arms. "Don't worry, it's just a small matter. I can handle it. But there's nothing to be sorry about." I cut her off, leaned down, and kissed her forehead. "If the sky falls, I'll hold it up. You just need to rest easy and be my little princess." She nuzzled against me and said softly, "I'm not a princess. I want to help share the burden too." "How will you help?" I asked, amused. She thought for a moment, then her eyes lit up. "I can make delicious food for you. When you're tired from work, I'll make you something tasty. After you eat, you'll have the strength to beat the bad guys." I was amused by her innocent words. "All right, from now on, our logistical support will rely entirely on our Sophia. I've got it covered." She patted her chest, looking utterly resolute. I held her in my arms, gazing at the star-filled sky, my heart calm and peaceful. Lucas or Luna, whatever. If they want play, I'll play along. After all, I've nothing better to do. Think of it as finding some amusement for my laid-back life. The engagement banquet proceeded as scheduled. The entire estate was decorated like a fairy tale world. Almost every prominent figure in the capital city was there. I stood together with Sophia, who wore a white lace gown, dressed in a white suit, receiving everyone's blessings. Mr. Ethan, congratulations, congratulations. Miss Sophia is so beautiful. She and Mr. Ethan are simply a match made in heaven. Talented groom, lovely bride, a perfect match. Sophia was a little unaccustomed to the scene and kept clutching my arm so tightly her palms were sweating. I gently patted her hand to soothe her and whispered in her ear, "Don't be nervous. Just think of it as watching a bunch of NPCs go through the motions." My words made her laugh, and her anxiety eased considerably. Halfway through the banquet, an uninvited guest appeared. Luna. She was wearing a long dress of blazing red, her makeup done in exquisite, heavy strokes, stepping in on 10-centimeter heels, entering with her full domineering presence. The moment she appeared, she drew everyone's gaze. The murmurs in the room instantly quieted. Everyone knew that this woman was one of Mr. Ethan's former fiancées who had died. What is she trying to do by showing up here today? To wreck the event? Everyone's faces showed the look of people eager to watch a spectacle. Luna ignored everyone's stares and walked straight toward us. She wore an appropriate smile, as if she weren't there to ruin things, but to sincerely offer her congratulations. "Ethan, long time no see." She stood before us, her gaze lingering on my face for a moment, then turning to Sophia. "This must be Miss Sophia, I presume? Seeing is indeed better than hearing, truly a beauty." Her tone was polite yet distant, impossible to fault. But Sophia still sensed that faint, barely perceptible hostility emanating from her. She instinctively shifted closer to me. I pulled her into my arms, looked at Luna, and said lightly, "Miss Luna, welcome. Sorry for the poor reception." The single address of Miss Luna instantly widened the distance between us. Luna's expression stiffened for a moment, but she quickly returned to normal. "Ethan, do you really have to be so distant with me?" she said with a bitter laugh. "I know. You still blame me. Blame me for leaving without a word back then." "No," I shook my head. "I should be thanking you. If you hadn't left, I never would have met Sophia." My words were like a knife, driving deep into Luna's heart. Her face went deathly pale in an instant. "Ethan," she finally couldn't hold back, her voice rising a few tones. "Do you have to treat me like this? Do you know I had my reasons for leaving back then?" "Oh," I raised an eyebrow. "What reasons?" She bit her lip, seeming to be making some difficult decision. At that moment, another voice came from not far away. His dilemma was that he discovered he had fallen in love with someone else. Everyone turned their heads toward the sound. They saw Lucas, dressed in a black suit, slowly stepping out of the crowd. He walked up to Luna, naturally slipped an arm around her waist, and gave her a doting smile. Then he looked at me, and his gaze was full of provocation. "Mr. Ethan, let me introduce myself. My name is Lucas, and I am Luna's current boyfriend." The whole room erupted in astonishment. Everyone was stunned by this godlike plot twist. Mr. Ethan's former fiancée is actually with a new socialite of Harbor City, Lucas, and she even openly provoked him right in front of Mr. Ethan. This scoop is enormous. Watching this dramatic scene unfold before me, I almost burst out laughing. Good grief. What kind of performance is this? Is this domineering CEO falls for me? The pregnant heroine returns, finds the hero has fallen for someone else, then teams up with the new flame to tear apart the ex. Luna, you have the wrong script, don't you? Aren't you supposed to be the main heroine? How did you end up as the supporting female in a melodramatic romance? I watched Luna, stiff-faced as Lucas held her in his arms, and the smile at the corner of my mouth deepened. Interesting. Really very interesting. So, I looked at Lucas and Luna, feigning sudden realization. You two are here today to give me your blessings? Lucas chuckled softly, drew Luna a little closer into his arms, his claim of ownership plain as day. Of course, Luna and I sincerely wish Mr. Ethan and Miss Sophia a lifetime of happiness and an early arrival of a precious child. He spoke with heartfelt earnestness, but the challenge in his eyes had not diminished in the slightest. Luna was held by him, her body rigid, her face looking pale. She hadn't expected Lucas to appear suddenly, nor to say such words. This was completely outside her plans. She had come today to play the victim in front of Ethan, to win some sympathy and lay the groundwork for her subsequent plans. In the end, it was all ruined by Lucas. Now, in everyone's eyes, she had become a gold digger who abandoned her old love for a new one. Lucas, you. She ground her teeth, trying to say something. But Lucas beat her to it, leaning close to her ear and, in a voice only the two of them could hear, said, "Don't forget our deal. If you want to get back what's yours, better cooperate with me." Luna's body stiffened abruptly. She glanced at Lucas's fathomless eyes and swallowed all her words. I took in their little gestures in full, my mind as clear as a mirror. What a load of romantic nonsense. They were nothing more than partners cooperating to get what they each needed. One wanted to use me to win back an old love. One wanted to use me to strike a rival. Really, what a fine show. Since you're here to offer your blessings, we'll accept them. I raised my cup and gave them a distant toast. Thank you both. Hopefully next time, we'll be drinking at your wedding. After speaking, I grabbed Sophia and turned to leave, not bothering to spare them so much as an extra glance. Lucas watched my retreating figure, his expression darkening slightly. He had thought that my presence would enrage Ethan and throw him into disarray. But he hadn't expected Ethan to react so calmly, as if he hadn't considered them worth a second glance. This feeling of being utterly ignored made Lucas, who had never known defeat, taste frustration for the first time. "Ethan!" He watched my back and murmured my name, a flash of determined cold in his eyes. The farce was over almost as quickly as it had begun. The guests were curious, but no one dared to discuss it outright. The banquet continued. Sophia took my hand and asked softly, "That Miss Luna, is she the one you used to be?" I nodded. That Mr. Lucas, is he really her boyfriend? "Do you think so?" I countered. Sophia thought for a moment and shook her head. "No, when they stand together, they're not intimate at all. And the way Miss Luna looks at you, it's strange." "Oh, in what way strange?" "It's like..." She frowned, struggling to find the right words. "Like seeing a treasure that should belong to you being snatched away by someone else, and feeling very unwilling about it." I couldn't help but laugh. My Sophia is getting smarter and smarter. "Then would you give your treasure to someone else?" I looked down at her and asked with a smile. "Of course not." She answered without a second thought. "My darling, no one will take you away." After speaking, she seemed to realize something, her cheeks flushing as she sneaked a glance at me. Her possessive little manner amused me so much my heart melted. I took her hand and led her to the center of the banquet hall. To the lilting waltz, I asked her to dance with me. She couldn't dance and stepped on my foot several times. Saw thee. Her face flushed with embarrassment. "It's all right." I held her and whispered in her ear, "Follow my rhythm. I'll lead you." I took her by the hand, and we slowly spun in the dance floor. The lights fell upon us. Everyone's gazes were fixed on us. There was envy, there was jealousy, there were blessings. And Luna stood apart from the crowd, staring at us intently. Her face, under the flickering lights, looked particularly pale. She watched me holding Sophia, gently teaching her to dance. Watching me look at Sophia with all that doting affection and love in my eyes. She only felt as if her heart had been soaked in lemonade, both sour and astringent. At one time, she had also imagined that there would be such a day. Ethan would take her hand and, under everyone's gaze, dance the first dance. He would look at her with that kind of tenderness that could squeeze water out of you, as if she were his whole world. But now, the person in his arms is not her. The tenderness in his eyes no longer belongs to her. She feels like an outsider, a ridiculous clown, forced to stand in the corner, and watch from afar the happiness that belongs to others. Why should that be? Why should I? Luna clenched her fists, her nails digging deep into her flesh. She wouldn't give up. Absolutely not. This battle has only just begun. After the engagement banquet, Lucas and Luna indeed began to make moves against the Johnson Group's chip project. They attacked on two fronts. Lucas did so openly, using his connections and financial advantages to undermine us at every turn in the market. Luna operated in the shadows, using her knowledge of the plot to try to poach our core technical staff and steal our trade secrets. For a time, the company was in a state of panic. Silas was so busy every day, he barely touched the ground and didn't even have time to come to the manor to report to me. He could only report the latest developments to me every night via video. Sir, Lucas has poached another one of our raw material suppliers. Sir, one of our core team leaders handed in his resignation today. They say Luna's company offered him triple the salary. Sir, if this continues, our project, I'm afraid. In the video, Silas's dark circles grew worse day by day. I, however, remained unfazed, fishing every day, tending the vegetables, and keeping my wife company. Don't rush. I always say to him, let them grab, let them dig. Whatever they want, give it to them. Silas. Sir, what exactly are your plans? My plan is to have no plan. I say lazily, watch and see how things unfold. Silas, he probably thought I was crazy, but I knew what I was doing. Lucas and Luna thought they had my trump card, but they didn't know that what I gave them was a fake card from the very start. That chip project was indeed an important future deployment for Johnson Group, but it wasn't the only deployment. The moment I was reborn, I had Silas secretly set up another, more elite R&D team. This team is researching a new technology capable of overturning the entire industry. And the project Lucas and Luna are desperately fighting over now is nothing more than a smoke screen I tossed out to mislead them. I intend to make them pour all their manpower, resources, and funds into that bottomless pit. When they're deep in and can't pull themselves out, I'll deliver the killing blow. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. This time, I'm going to make them lose everything down to their last pair of underwear. That day, I was in the kitchen, watching Sophia make osmanthus cakes for me. She wore a cute apron, her long hair loosely pinned up with a hairpin, a few stray strands brushing her cheeks dusted with flour, looking like an adorable little flower cat. I couldn't help it and reached out to wipe it away for her. She looked up and smiled at me, her eyes curved like crescents. Don't make trouble. It'll be over soon. Just then my phone rang. It's Mia. I was a bit surprised. Since that woman's death, this was the first time she'd proactively contacted me. I stepped aside and answered the call. Mr. Ethan, long time no see. Her voice was still cloyingly sweet. Something you need? I couldn't be bothered to waste words with her. Can't I just chat with you if there's nothing? She giggled coquettishly. I saw the news. You and Lucas are really going at it. And I just wanted to warn you. Be careful of Luna. Her tone suddenly grew serious. That woman will stop at nothing to achieve her goals. She's gone mad now. Oh. I raised an eyebrow. What has she done this time? Mia hesitated before saying, she seems to have discovered the truth about our fake deaths back then. She wants to use that to blackmail us into doing things for her. Blackmail you? Right. Mia gave a bitter laugh. She told us to find a way to get close to Sophia, dig up dirt on her, and ruin her reputation. She said that as long as she could win you back, she'd do anything. I listened, and the smile at the corner of my mouth grew colder and colder. Luna, oh Luna, you really are one of those who won't cry until they see the coffin. Mr. Ethan, I'm calling you for no other reason. Mia continued, I just think it's best to leave a way out for people, so we can meet peacefully in the future. Luna has already lost herself to obsession. I don't want to go mad with her. And Miss Sophia is a good girl. I don't want to see her hurt. I understand. I replied coolly. So is that it? Mia sounded a little unwilling. Do we really have absolutely no chance at all? What do you think? I asked in return. Silence on the other end of the line. After a long while, she let out a faint sigh. Understand. After hanging up, I turned and saw Sophia standing behind me, holding a tray of freshly baked osmanthus cakes. "Whose call was that?" she asked, pretending not to care. "Someone selling insurance." I lied without changing my expression. "Oh." She nodded and brought the osmanthus cake to my mouth. "Try it, it's just been made." I opened my mouth and took a bite. Fragrant, sweet, and soft, it melted in the mouth. "Delicious, as long as it's good." She smiled, but in her eyes there was a trace of an emotion I couldn't understand. I knew she had definitely heard something, but she asked nothing. This clever girl was always like that. She gave me her complete trust and space, never probing into my past. But I knew I owed her an explanation. I took her hand and helped her sit on my lap. "Sophia." I looked into her eyes and said seriously, "When this is all over, I'll tell you everything. Is that okay?" She looked at me and stared for a long time. Then she nodded, buried her head in my arms, and whispered, "Okay." 1 month later, Lucas and Luna finally succeeded in taking our chip project. They paid a huge price for it. Lucas's company had almost invested all of its liquid assets. Luna also threw her hard-earned first pot of gold entirely into it. They thought they had won. They had won the future. The media in Haigang City were all reporting heavily, praising them as business prodigies and a golden partnership. Lucas and Luna were, for a time, unrivaled in their glory. They even sent me an invitation to their celebration banquet. The provocation was obvious. "Sir, are we really going?" Silas asked, his tone full of reluctance. "Go, why wouldn't we go?" I smiled. With such a lively scene, how could it be without us losers? At the celebration banquet, Lucas and Luna were absolutely the main attractions. They stood on the stage, accepting everyone's compliments and flattery, their faces wearing the smiles of victors. Luna was especially radiant today. She wore a silver mermaid gown that outlined her perfect figure to the last detail. She looked at me in the audience, her eyes full of pride and showmanship, as if to say, "Ethan, do you see? I can succeed without you, even more successfully than when I was with you." I only smiled faintly, raised my glass, and gave her a distant toast. That look was like he was staring at a meddlesome little clown. The banquet reached its peak, and the host invited Lucas onto the stage to share his success story. Lucas strode up confidently and picked up the microphone. "Thank you all." He scanned the room, his gaze finally settling on me. "Actually, the person I should thank most for my success today is one person." He paused, and the smile at the corner of his mouth deepened. "That's right, Ethan for Johnson Group, Mr. Ethan." The whole room erupted in laughter. Everyone knew he was humiliating me. I still kept a smile on my face and even applauded. The smile on Lucas's face stiffened for a moment. He probably hadn't expected me to react that way. Just then, the doors to the banquet hall were flung open. A group of police officers in uniform rushed in. The lead officer walked onto the stage with a stern face and took out an arrest warrant. "Lucas, Luna, you're suspected of stealing trade secrets and multiple counts of financial fraud. Now, please come with us." The entire room fell instantly silent. Everyone was stunned by this sudden turn of events. Lucas and Luna's faces changed even more dramatically. "You've got it wrong," Lucas said sharply. "We didn't." "Whether you did or not, come back to the station with us and you'll find out," the officer said expressionlessly. 2 police officers stepped forward, took out handcuffs, and were about to cuff them. "No, I'm not going." Luna screamed excitedly. She suddenly broke free from the officers, rushed up to me, and clutched my arm tightly. "Ethan, it's you. You're the one behind this, aren't you?" Her makeup had already run, her hair was messy, and she looked utterly disheveled. There was none of the haughty, queenly air she had just now. "It was me," I admitted coolly. "Why?" she screamed hysterically. "Why would you do this to me? What did I ever do wrong? What did you do wrong?" I looked at her, the smile at the corner of my mouth growing colder. "You were too clever by half. You thought you had my trump card. But you didn't know that card was poison. I fed you from the start." I took out my phone and opened a video. In the video is the head of my secret R&D team, presenting our latest technological achievement to a group of top experts from around the world. a brand new artificial intelligence chip technology capable of changing the future landscape of technology. At the end of the video, a line of large characters appears on the screen. Johnson Group Tianwen project officially launched. This can't be. Luna watched the video, murmuring to herself, the color draining completely from her face. She finally understood. The project she and Lucas had schemed and fought so hard to grab was nothing but an empty shell. It was a trap that Ethan had carefully prepared for them. All their efforts, all their sacrifices had become a joke. Why? She lifted her head and looked at me in despair. You clearly could have told me from the start. Told you? I sounded as if I'd heard the biggest joke. Why would I tell you? Luna, have you forgotten? We haven't been close for a long time. From the moment you decided to fake your death and run, to me, you were just a stranger. My words, like the last straw, completely broke her. Her body went limp, and she collapsed to the ground. The police stepped forward and took her away along with Lucas, whose face had gone ashen. A grand celebratory banquet ended, in the end, as a farce. I took Sophia's hand and, amid the complex gazes of the crowd, walked out of the banquet hall. The night outside is beautiful. I look at the girl beside me. She is looking at me too, her eyes sparkling as if filled with starlight. Ethan, you're so handsome. I was taken aback for a moment, then I smiled. I lowered my head and kissed her lips. Yeah, it's over. All grudges, all schemes are over. From now on, my life will consist only of romance and her. Lucas and Luna, because the amount involved was enormous and the evidence conclusive, were given heavy sentences. Their company likewise went bankrupt and was liquidated. Mia and Bella escaped unscathed because they hadn't been involved. But they could no longer stay in Harbor City. It was said they sold off all their possessions, went abroad, and disappeared without a trace. A farce sparked by a book transmigrator thereby came to an end, and I could finally live my laid-back life in peace. I handed all the company's affairs over to Silas. He is now the chief executive officer of Johnson Group. He was still as busy as a spinning top every day, but the smiles on his face grew more frequent. He said that watching the company's stock price climb higher and higher every day was the happiest thing in his life. Sophia and I had our wedding on a day when spring was in full bloom. The wedding was simple. We only invited our relatives and closest friends. We exchanged rings on the lawn of the estate. I watched her in a pure white wedding dress, like a real angel, slowly walking toward me. My heart was filled with a great happiness I had never felt before. I finally understood that the meaning of being reborn once was not for revenge, nor to change some damn storyline, but rather so that I would have the chance to meet her. To meet this, the only light in my life. At night, we lay in bed. She rested her head on my arm and asked softly, "You said before that once things were over, you'd tell me everything. Can you tell me now?" I was silent for a moment, then I told her everything about the book, about the rebirth, about Luna and the others. I thought she would be shocked, would be afraid. But she wasn't. She just listened quietly, then hugged me and said, "Ethan, you've worked hard." My eyes instantly filled with tears. Yeah, you worked hard. In my previous life, I lived so tiredly, so painfully. This life, I can finally take off all pretenses and defenses and fall asleep peacefully in someone's arms. Sophia. I held her, my voice a little choked. "Thank you." "Silly." She smiled, kissed my eye. "We're husband and wife. No need to say thank you." She paused, as if remembering something, and looked at me mischievously. "But I have one question." "What problem?" "Your 3 ex-fiancés are all so beautiful, with such great figures, and you've lived with them for so long. Didn't you feel anything at all?" I looked at her bright, curious eyes and couldn't help but laugh. I rolled over, pinned her beneath me, leaned down, and kissed her lips. "Fallen in love?" I mumbled. My heart was long ago stolen by a little demon. There's no room left for anyone else. Outside, the moonlight was just right. Inside, spring spread boundlessly. I thought this was probably the most perfect ending I could imagine.